I'm just going to create a quick particle flow by going down to Particle Systems, Particle Flow Source. Just maximize this viewport, and I'll just draw the icon. Okay. This icon is the 3D viewport representation of the source, and it's generally used in a particle system to define where particles are emitted from in 3D space. This source can actually be attached to a max object. It could be linked to a moving car or so forth, and in that way you could have you know, smoke emitting from an exhaust of a car. Now this icon is the correspondent, as I said, in 3D space of a source event in the particle view. So let's show the particle view, and I can bring that up by pressing 6 on the keyboard. This is the particle view, and you know, this is a separate window. You can expand it and it'll fill the viewport. Because it's actually quite a large interface to work with, generally I use personally particle flow with a dual monitor system. This works much better. You can keep your 3D viewport on your right monitor or your left monitor, whichever your preference is, and then you can use the particle view on your second monitor. Now, as I just said, there is a correspondence between the icon in the 3D viewport, and I'll just maximize particle flow again so you can see both. Between the two elements, this source here, this is an event which I've just talked about. This is the particle view correspondence of this icon here. So these two items are the same thing. In fact, you will look here in this panel, you can see that there are various elements, and if I look in the same panel here, you'll see that there's a very similar rollout. They're almost exactly the same elements in both rollouts. As you can see here, you have emission parameters and you have emission parameters here. You have system management parameters and you have system management parameters here. So as you can see, the two elements are actually the same item, just in different workspaces. Now you can also see that we have two events. If I just show you the flow example again, these are events, and as I said, inside the events we have actions, and they are operators and tests. Now in the particle view, you can see that this is the source event, and here we have the first event, and this is basically a standard particle setup. Now you don't have to build up a particle flow in the way that you see it here, and you'll see later that it's completely flexible in the way that it does so. But one of the most fundamental elements of a particle flow is an event, and the event acts as a container for actions. Now at the moment, the only actions that you can actually see are operators. All of the items inside this event are actually operators. But if I open up the window here a little bit further, you can see we have tests here, and again they're yellow diamonds, as I showed you in the illustration. And I can take one of these out of here and I'll pick an age test, and you can see I can actually drop that into the event. So as I said, actions consist of two different elements. The first one is an operator, and operators are used to modify particles as they pass through your flow. Operators can be used to define particles' position in space, its scale, what it renders as, the material it uses, and so on. Tests are a subtype of operators whose only function is to act as a switch when certain particle criteria are met. Tests are used in conjunction with events to control the flow of particles within a particle flow. There are tests for speed, particle age, particle size, and so on. So I'll create another event by using a drag and drop system. I'll just grab one of the operators from here and I'll drop it into the view here, and you can see it's created a new event. This should be noted because events can exist within the schematic workspace, but operators cannot exist outside of events. They have to sit inside an event. And the last element that you would really see in the schematic view is a wire. Now you can see this test here is set up so that it's saying if the particle age is greater than 30 and it's got a plus and minus 5, that means that there's a random value here. So that would mean that the age is over 25 to 35 frames of age. If that value is true, then the particles get passed out of this test. And to do that, they pass out of this interface here, which is a little wire. Now you can't actually see the wire at the moment, so I'll just grab this little nub here, and I'll move it over here to this loop. When I drop, you can see the icon has changed on my mouse pointer to indicate that it's active. When I drop, it's wired the two elements together. So you can see it is the combination of operators, tests, wiring, events together that allows particle flow to act in a flowchart-like manner. Within events, particles are modified and manipulated by the operators in that event. Then tests in those events can be used to check for certain criteria, and when those criteria are met, the particles are passed out to new events. This is how the flowchart-like workflow is represented within particle flow. Okay, let's move on to talk a little bit more about the source icon. I'll just close down particle view for a second. Something I also want to do is I want to show you more than one source icon. So I'll just go to particles again. I'm already in particle systems, so I'll click on particle flow source, and I'll create a second source here. Okay, there we go. Now if I look at the control panel for this particular source, you can see it has a number of rollouts. And the first rollout is called setup, and it allows you to emit particles from this particular source. If you untick this checkbox here, this particular particle flow will not do anything. So it's a very quick way of disabling that particular particle flow. So we'll just re-enable that. And within that rollout, you can also see there is, let me just close these actually to make it a little bit more compact. You can see that there's a button, and that actually opens up particle view. And you know, you can do the same thing by pressing 6 on the keyboard, so I'll just do that to demonstrate. So there you go, I'm opening up and closing particle view, and it's a toggle, so you can see every time I press it, it either opens or closes the view depending on which state it's currently in. So if I open up the view again, this time I'll do it using the button. There we go. You can see that in the particle view now there are actually two particle flows. You've got one called PF source 01 and one called PF source 02. So as you can see, they're related to the icons in the viewport. So you can see very clearly there is a correspondence between the icon and a source in particle view. Okay, and let's take a step back from that, and I'm just going to delete this second source and everything else that's associated with it. So I'm just going to drag around here and press delete. And you can see that in the viewport the source icon has gone as well. So you can see that they are actually the same object, really just represented in different workspaces. So if I click on this source, as you can see, I've got the two rollouts open here. So I'll actually move on to emission now and tell you what that actually does. Okay, well, you can see it has a number of parameters, and you can see the first parameter is logo size. So if I just change that to 4, you can see that the little logo, which is actually held within the source icon, has changed size. This is just purely a stylistic thing. You could actually change it down to 0 and it'll disappear, or you can make it, you know, very large. It's just to show you that it's a particle flow icon and nothing more than that, really. So you can just leave that the default size or whatever. The next option down is what's the shape on the icon, and you can see you've got a choice between a rectangle, a box, a circle, and a sphere. So, you know, you've got some options there about, you know, what particular shape you want for the icon. Say, you know, we'll change it to circle for now. There's box. Now, to actually get some real size out of that, we need to adjust these parameters. You can see the height at the moment on the box is 0.01, so it actually has got a height, but it's just very small. So if we make all these parameters the same, I'll just type in 20, 20, 20. You can see you've actually got a proper box now. And if we change to sphere, you can see that the other two parameters don't actually make any sense anymore, so they get ghosted, and you just have the option of the diameter. So you can see for each one you have a relevant set of parameters which actually control the shape of that particular icon. So we could change that to 40. This is useful because, you know, you can attach this icon, as I said, to other objects and have it move around the scene. So, you know, if you want your particles to emit from a small area, you can just change the size of whichever particular icon it is that you're using to, you know, a smaller size and control it in that way.